Hello, everybody. Today, I wanted to talk about unconditional love and um, my interpretation of that, and how to achieve it in the easiest way that you can achieve it. And a lot of times, when the way I had originally thought of unconditional love was basically taking the hardest thing that you can think of and still having love for it anyway. And it was the very definition of how I had defined unconditional love made it to where it was a goal that was so difficult to achieve that I had a lot of difficulty and kind of criticized myself about not being good enough to give enough love for different things. But it wasn't until um, fairly recently that it was this aha moment, and that really kind of came to me on how much easier it is, and I was making it so difficult just by that definition that I had of unconditional love. And the way I'll define it now is exactly how it is just no matter what the conditions of your life are, you still are predominantly in a state of love. And so you can look at it that way, but the way you can look at it this way, when you flip it around, is that whenever you are not in a state of love, you're using a certain subject as the predominant reason why you're not in love. But it doesn't mean that all the situations in your life are going badly. It's just that you take one subject, and it may be an important thing. I'm not saying that it isn't, but you take one subject and you make that the primary reason why you should not be in a state of love. So when you recognize this, and you recognize that statement, then it becomes very easy how to be in a state of unconditional love. Is that if that one negative thing is happening, you still use any other reason, any other subject that puts you in a state of love despite this negative thing that's happening. You make those things more dominant than the negative thing that's happening. And so you're able to maintain a state of love despite the negative thing. Now, what happens is that through our conditioning, we haven't been taught that. We've been taught conditional love. That means when situations are going good, we're happy, and when situations are going negative, we're unhappy, and we use those negative situations as an excuse not to be happy. Let's say you're sick, you have a cold, and then you gripe about being sick. Instead of just stating, okay, I'm sick, but make that situation very much neutral, and it may be negative, but there's no reason why you can't focus on any other subject and make yourself happy and in a state of love. Any other subject, because there's many things that are typically going right for you, and it's just your attention to the one negative thing and making that so much more important in order to state that I should not be happy, that I should be restricting my level of love and happiness because of this one negative thing that's happening, and this situation must change, or otherwise I'm not going to allow myself to be happy. So again, it's just balancing of uh, the situation. Doesn't mean that the situation that you have to typically like that situation. You can still not prefer to be sick, but still be in a state of love. You could still say, well, I don't prefer to be sick, but I'm going to put all of my attention and in this moment on being grateful that I have, two wonderful children. I have a happy family. Um, I have a good job. I have all these things that I can be grateful for. And then making those and deliberately focusing on those things deliberately so that that becomes the dominant stream of thinking despite the fact that you have this negative condition, making it unconditional love. Um, and that's really what we're here to do is no matter what the situation is, we're here to bring unconditional love into this world. And um, if you can maintain those predominant feelings, those predominant thought patterns, those negative experiences, they really just can't survive in that vibratory state. In fact, I would go out on a limb and say that if our culture continues to climb and evolve and our global consciousness raises so that our predominant stream of thinking is in the love and positive vibratory states, love, excitement, that tends to be the predominant stream. I would say that sickness would be non-existent on our planet because sickness requires a negative stream of thinking. And if the predominant state, the global consciousness, the predominant state is that of a positive nature, there's no room for any of that negativity there. Probably the lowest would be in a neutral state. It would be very rare for people to go below that. But that would, again, I don't know when that would occur in our current evolutionary state, but I can see how that would eventually go that direction. So the thing is it becomes a practice of it just because we recognize that is the way that we're supposed to do it. And if you're having a negative experience, you can't just say, okay, well, I'm going to focus on something more positive and this negative thing will just die out. There's a lot of conditioning, a lot of patterning that has gone into that. And law of attraction has been bringing those thoughts and bringing those thoughts and bringing those thoughts. And so that tends to be the predominant thought pattern in your mind. And you really have to just kind of slowly build it up, slowly build up your state of love and bringing that state of consciousness into those negative experiences until the negative one just kind of die out, it becomes neutral, and you can just slowly build into a positive state. The more practice you do, the more your predominant state starts to raise. You raise your whole vibration. Your whole vibration tends to raise so that, again, your predominant thoughts, if they centered around, anxiety and fear and things, they start to raise and they become into more of a neutral boredom type state. And then they start to raise and you tend to go back and go into like a calm, peaceful state predominantly. And, once you're in that state, you can even raise it higher and go into a more high vibration, kind of tend to be more high energy, excitement type of person. So, um, you know, then you got more momentum on the positive side, and then it really helps you when situations go bad, because if you're used to a positive energy, if things kind of go bad, you could probably handle it so much better. It may be a big drop off for you, but you're bringing in a high vibration into it. So probably the answers will come much quicker on how to handle that. Again, not so important the actual situation that you have to do. It's bringing in the state of consciousness that can handle whatever the situation is. So bringing in that state of consciousness is primary to whatever thing is going on. Again, bringing in the state of consciousness that brings unconditional love fixes all of those situations that will go on. Otherwise, if you just fix it through action, typically you haven't learned the lesson, and it's going to come back to you again in a maybe in a different way, but it's going to keep on returning, because you have to bring that state of consciousness into there to fix it. Otherwise, it just gets bigger and bigger. It's because it's resistance that's in your stream. It's in there, and you're trying to raise, and you can't raise because you got this resistance. And as you raise somewhere, that dip off is just more resistance as you kind of dip down, and so it'll get worse and worse and worse, and eventually you're going to have to clean it up. You got to bring that state of consciousness, um, that state of consciousness of a higher vibration into those negative experiences, and you have to bring unconditional love. So again, just to summarize, is basically calming down the situation, the stream of thought, recognizing that you're making a certain subject the reason for negating your higher vibrations of love and peace and happiness, taking that situation and making it of primary importance to negate that love, and then deciding you don't want to do that anymore, and trying to the best of your ability to focus on other areas that are easier to be in a state of love, and focus on that. You don't have to focus on the one thing and fix it necessarily. You just have to bring that state of consciousness into that present moment where you're experiencing that negativity, and you'll naturally negate that situation. It will naturally, you're bringing in that higher vibration, and it will fix the situation. You'll come up with the aha moments that will able to handle that, because you're not feeding into that negative stream anymore. It's got to die out, and you're feeding into the positive streams, so it just naturally fixes it. So that's pretty much all I have to say. I want to thank everyone for watching, and take care.